All right, I have a few thoughts about freedom and happiness. So big picture, I forget who puts together these reports, the World Happiness Report that comes out every year or two, from some really great economists and psychologists. And what they find is that when you look at how happy, they use various ways of measuring happiness around the world. The happiest countries, what's the big predictor of being a happy country? Number one by far is GDP. Wealthy countries are happier for a lot of reasons. I forget what order it goes in next, but one of them is freedom. Even on top of GDP, because you have some rich countries that are not that free. Although freedom and prosperity tend to go together. So the extent that it is judged a free society, people are happier. To have an authoritarian country, to have bullies, to have people constraining you, preventing you from flourishing, preventing you from doing what you want, that is not a recipe for happiness. So freedom is a very important element of human happiness. In self-determination theory, really important theory in psychology from Ed Deci and Rich Ryan, it's autonomy, competence, and relatedness. Those are the three things everybody needs, but autonomy is a basic human need. Now, on the other side, there are some interesting things to say, which is Emil Durkheim noted in the 1890s that when you look at suicide rates, the people who are freest are the ones who kill themselves most. That is, people who are married, less so than single people. People who are married with kids, less so than people who are married without kids. The more you're locked into a domestic society, the less you are to kill yourself. Protestants had the highest suicide rate, religious Jews and religious Catholics the lowest. So freedom, and I think here's the way to resolve it. People need to live in a thick moral world. They need to live in a world with structure. They need to know what's right and wrong. They need to have a sense of that we all share this reality. And when you have that, then you have a worldview that is shared. Humans need to believe that they live in a community, a society that shares a worldview. And it's good if it puts on some constraints, but not be overly restrictive. So for Durkheim, a really important word was anomie, or normlessness. And when people suffer from anomie, they feel disconnected, life has no meaning, they have nothing to strive for, and that's when you get suicide in the West from being not tightly bound. I bring this up because a very recent finding in my own work in writing The Anxious Generation was when you look at who got wiped out after 2012, once all the kids go on smartphones and social media, over and over again, we graphed this a lot of different ways. If you look at the levels of mental illness or anxiety, depression, self-harm for kids who are religious and conservative, it goes along in the 2000s. You hit 2012, which is where it all starts, and they go up a little bit. But then you look at the line for kids who are secular and liberal. You hit 2012, and it's a hockey stick. They go way, way up. So we've long known that conservatives are a little happier than liberals. They're more tightly bound. They have a thicker, sort of more morally binding worldview. But the difference was small, and it's been debated. We also, so that's for left, right, and then the same thing for religious, non-religious. People who are part of the religious community, we've long known are happier than people who are not. And so, but you look at the gap in those lines along those two dimensions, it's small until 2012. And then it gets huge. So I see this as yes, we need freedom, but we also need norms. We need clear shared norms. And social media, life in the virtual world shreds norms. It's just a tornado of memes and influencers, minute by minute. Nothing sticks, nothing matters. That, I think, carried away. It's like a tsunami that carried away all those unfortunate people in the Great Asian Tsunami. The tsunami of social media and smartphones carried away kids who weren't anchored into a community.